We sang through the darkness, we sang through the pain, we sang through the heartache, so singing kept us sane. Songs of all culture, they helped us come together. National language of love, so music is forever. As we march on, the victory is won. We still have a way to go, but yes, we still begun. Let's make a joyful noise, and let's all sing. We came a long way, so let freedom ring.
Television, print, and social media has flooded with daily discussions, analysis on race, race relations, free speech, police brutality, immigration, and border protection. However, the discussions are singularly focused on the adult point of view, without regard to how the rest of the nation may be affected. Good morning. I'm Ed James, and this is Black Almanac. Today, along with Sarasota Mayor Shelley Freeland-Eddy, we will have 8 diverse students from Booker Middle School, McIntosh Middle, Booker High School, Sarasota High, and Pineview High Schools. They will engage in an hour-long in-depth discussion on civility, discrimination, free speech, government, race, racism, social media, and how these issues impact on our local communities and their thoughts on the state of our nation and community. Mayor Eddy, good to see you again, and it's been a while, and you have all these wonderful young folk with us.
Yes.
Why not introduce them to our audience?
Okay, will do. Christina Brush from Booker Middle School. Next we have Brittany Jester, McIntosh Middle. Miss Mia Mendoza from McIntosh Middle. Miss Leah DuBose from Booker Middle School. Mr. Kayan Pinkney, Booker High School. Mr. Charles Karcher, Sarasota High School. Miss Minna Stein, Pineview School. And Mr. Eddie Hunley II from Booker High School.
Now, well, welcome all. You know, it's been said that if we're going to succeed in this global economy, you have to be really sharp and study hard. But many students say they believe that their work is too easy. What say you?
I'd hope to say that we work hard, but it's easier with the new advances in technology that we have access to.
I would say that now in this new age, like Eddie said, that the advances in technology have kind of put everything in the palm of our hand on the forefront. So basically we have a lot of accessible things easily to us now than say maybe a few years ago, and so on and so forth.
Well, what happens if that technology breaks down?
If that technology breaks down, then we'll probably have to go back to old, simple ways. Well, I want to say old, but we'll probably have to go back and just at least find a newer way, because things are constantly changing, and we're always constantly upgrading and having to go back and backtrack. But I feel that now we can easily, and to put it in simple terms, we can simply just break everything down, reinvent it, and then make it better depending on how we look at the problem.
Madam Mayor, you know, there's many things happening and going on in the world, and this program, as you said when we were discussing it, that everybody has an opinion but the young people, and they have opinions, but no one gives them an opportunity to discuss.
Right.
Would you like to touch on that some way?
Sure. With everything that we've heard in terms of the dialogue from the national level, coming down to our community, people are given perspectives, whether we're talking about politics, or we're talking about the economy, or we're talking about education, or we're talking about healthcare, or even just talking about relationships. It seems like that everyone is asked how they feel about an issue, but our students, who are our future, have been left out of discussion. So I thought it would be a good idea for us on a local level to have some of the best and brightest students from our county to come together, and for us to just have a dialogue about some of the most important issues in the spotlight, but to also give them a chance to talk to us about what they think, how they feel, did we get it right, do we need to fix something, and where do we go from here?
Good. Go ahead.
So, well, we brought you here just to have a discussion about some serious topics that I'm sure if you're on social media or you're watching television or reading the newspaper, you've heard about. And some have to do with race, some have to do with how our government works, many have to do with how we treat each other. And if you watch TV, it's always the adults talking. And so I asked Dr. James if we could come together so we could talk less and we could hear from you more. So what I'd like to do is we'll just kind of throw out some issues, and the goal is for us to just start the conversation and for you to just kind of tell us, how you feel about things. With regard to politics, it seems as though people are meaner to each other than they used to be. And I don't know if you agree with that or if that's just us as adults talking, but Christine, I'll start with you. What do you think about the tone or the words in which our government officials use when they talk to each other?
Well, nowadays there's different results of being mean, but not being blatantly. It's more subtle where it still hurts as much. But the way they say it, they should be more respectful to each other and just understand what other people are saying instead of going out and just thinking that they're always right.
Okay. Brittany, what do you think?
I agree. I think that they should have a kinder way to talk to us.
You mean talk to young people or talk to each other? Who are we talking? Who is us? And anyone can speak.
I think when she's referring to us, I think she's referring to each other, us as a unit. We are the United States of America. We are one country. So as far as the way people are talking to each other, it's more of I feel if I say something louder than you do, you're going to listen to me because I'm louder than you. But in reality, nobody's being heard. It's just a lot of yelling. Everybody's just yelling at each other. So there are no points being gained in the conversation or any action being taken.
What do you think, Manna?
Going off of that and addressing it how they work together, I agree that it's just a lot of yelling and people just trying to be the loudest to make sure that they're heard over everyone else. But if people would just stop yelling, I guess, and just listen to each other, then that would allow for more things to get done. There's no cooperation because everyone is just I'm right, you're wrong, you don't know what you're talking about, you have to listen to me. But if they listen to each other, then there could be progress.
Mia or Leah, it sometimes seems like there's a different set of rules for adults versus students. I think as adults, we tell students to be respectful and to listen and to not talk over each other and to not call each other names, but do you think that adults are behaving the same way?
Well, I think adults are also yelling and can be disrespectful at times like students can, but if we take the time to sit down and talk to each other and try to work things out, it will all work out.
Mia, what do you think?
I agree with you. It depends how we say it and what we say to each other because different people will interpret it as something else, or it might not get their point across with all the yelling and stuff.
Okay. Charles, what do you think?
I think that in today's society, especially after the 2016 presidential election, there was a lot of mudslinging and things like that. And that kind of trickled down in terms of politics to supporters of each major candidate. And there's just been a lot of labeling and just automatic rejection of different viewpoints rather than substantive engagement between both sides. So I think that when people just automatically get angry, that shuts out actual discourse that's important. So I think that adults need to reform how they're talking to each other and actually accept other viewpoints rather than just shutting them out completely.
There's been anxiety has been heightened on the basis of how we look at marginalized people. Marginalized only in this sense. LGBT, immigrants, or those who are not like us, whoever us is. Have you seen that in your daily life or your school life? Do you know any LGBT people? Do you know any Muslims? Do you know any recent immigrants?
I think personally, as a 12th grader at Booker High School, we very much so encourage everybody to be different. Be yourself. Don't fall into social crowds. Don't feel like you have to be this way because that's what's going on. If you like to dance, you like to dance. We support you. If you like the same sex, we support you. It's your choice. As long as you're happy, then everybody else around you should be happy for you if they're truly somebody that you consider your friend or somebody that supports you. At Booker High School, we believe in everybody being successful and college and career ready. As long as you're college and career ready and you're happy with what you're doing and how your future is panning out, then that's all that matters.
In our society, sometimes, unfortunately, people have been treated differently because of their race, because of their ethnicity, because of their sexual orientation, because of the country that they were born in. Do you see that? Do you think that that exists, or is that something that's only on TV and not in real life?
It's more of a thing that we do like to do in this country. We preach a lot and say that we want everybody to be different and we want diversity, but we can always talk it, but we never want to actually put it into action. And me being a person that's grown up in a family that I do have LGBT siblings and family members, it's more so of a let you express yourself in the way that you want to express yourself. You can't really look down on someone else if you're always blocking them out with other insecurities and other things that you may have against them. You can't be the person that's saying, I want to make this place different, but yeah, I'm in the same place telling everybody that they have to be exactly alike. So let diversity be diversity and don't try to guide it your way is basically what I'm trying to say.
And also to touch on that a little more, I, as a African American male who stands tall at 6'1", have been racially profiled. Even in my own neighborhood this school year, I was just at the pool with a couple of my teammates, and we weren't loud, we weren't disruptive. We were actually getting out of the car when one of my neighbors made a call to our local police department saying that there are 3 African American males in her neighborhood up to no good. And within 5 minutes, there were three SUV police cars surrounding my car, telling me, what are you doing in here? Who let you in? Because I live in a gated community, and to get into my community, you need a code. You need a 4-digit access code. So when I was approached by our police department with the report that someone said I was disruptive and I was suspicious, it hurt me, honestly, because not only is that my neighborhood, that's been my neighborhood since I was 6 years old. So for somebody to call the police on me because I'm 6'1", I have dark skin, and I have dreads that sometimes I let hang in front of my face, it hurt because I'm one of the nicest people you'd ever meet. If you ask any of my teachers, they'll say I'm a nice, respectful young man, and I carry myself well. My parents are both educators. So I've been on the side of being racially profiled, and I've also seen some of my friends of other races, Muslim to be more specific, be judged. I've heard the jokes. I've seen the bullying live. So I'm against it. I believe that there needs to be a stricter enforcement on being against racial profiling. I feel like everybody should somehow, some way get over it, because not everybody is the same way you see people on TV. Just because there might be one terrorist attack doesn't mean all Muslims are bad. Just because one African American may do something in the community doesn't mean everybody's bad, doesn't mean everybody that has a hoodie on is trying to cause harm.
How did that end after law enforcement came and questioned you, I suppose?
Well, fortunately, I had, I've talked about it with my parents in the past, not ever thinking that it would come into action, not ever thinking I have to use that information. So I cooperated. I handed over my license. I gave them my address, which luckily was a couple yards away. So they eventually, you know, they were huddling up, taking my plate number, looked up that I have nothing on my record, and they eventually let me go. It got a little attention from my school, and thankfully Booker High School supported me in my endeavor to overcome that issue, because the issue since then has been handled. I haven't been harassed in my neighborhood anymore, and I think that the actions that were taken by my school as well as my parents on getting this type of topic out and letting people know that, you know, this has to stop.
Did the officers apologize?
Not necessarily. I just never looked back on the situation. I actually held it a secret for a long time until I was asked to write about it in class, and my mother was informed on what I wrote. And since then, it's been a progressing thing.
Does it change the way you view police officers based on that experience?
No. My uncle's a police officer. He's Dominic Harris, our SRO at our school, is my uncle. So I have the utmost respect for our police department, but the people inside the uniform, that's the issue. It's not about the brand, it's not about the badge, and none of that. It's the person who puts those clothes on every morning, their mindset, the way they handle other people that are different from what they may look at when they look in the mirror. So that's my issue.
Do you think that schools should educate or discuss and celebrate our differences? Let me qualify that outside of Black History Month. Do you think that, does it happen, first of all, because I don't know? And if it doesn't, what role do you think the school plays in terms of helping us to celebrate each other?
Well, yesterday at our school we had Unity Day, and we had all our VPAs perform, but we also had a presentation about like not bullying each other, not like not having discrimination against different races or different types of people. And so at our school we really do believe that everyone should be treated equally.
Any others?
Well, the schools should maybe have a culture day where everybody gathers around and celebrates their culture, not just like Black History Month like you said, but like getting to know how other people's cultures work.
Over at Booker High School, we're a very diverse high school. We are, I want to say, we're mostly a pie. We're basically a hodgepodge of a bunch of different cultures, because usually people that come down, they move and they hear about Booker High School and they hear that we're a VPA school. So we have a bunch of different races: Black, Hispanic, Asian, Oriental, however you want to give it in a perspective. So every day is like you'll see a bunch of different people. Changing classes, you see a bunch of different races, and we all come together because kids nowadays, we all have groups that we hang out with. So most groups they're racially diverse. We have people that hang out with people from other countries, people that sometimes come from other countries that are foreign exchange students. So there's always a mixture, and you're always seeing some new face at our school. So it's a really nice thing to see that we have a lot of diversity and we accept everybody for who they are and where they come from, no matter what.
Tell us about, if you would, Sarasota High School, Charles and Ms. Stein, you, Pineview.
Okay. So Sarasota High School is pretty diverse. We have a good amount of different races and things like that. Me personally, I'm in the ACE program, and unfortunately, I do notice that there is a very drastic underrepresentation of minorities in that program. It's mostly white students. When I look around in ACE classes, which are like the advanced classes of the school, it is mostly white people. We have a few minorities in the program, but compared to the overall diversity of the school, that's not represented in the ACE program at all. So I think that's something that should be changed.
Well, tell me, you say the ACE program.
Yes.
That's your advanced program.
Yes, so it's an international certificate of education through Cambridge, and it's equivalent to like IB or advanced placement classes.
What do you think, why do you feel that there is the overrepresentation of whites? Is it because they would rather be in an ACE program, or do you have to be recommended by counselors to be in an ACE program? Or is it just plain grades based upon numbers?
One thing is that they do look at grades when you're accepted into the ACE program and your past history, like in middle school and freshman year. But additionally, I think that there's a lot of just structural societal issues that go into placement of students in schools, which I think needs to be fundamentally changed in order to like recognize different, the individual potentials of different students instead of just labeling them by grades and numbers. You need to look at like who they are as a person.
Ms. Stein?
At Pineview, it is not very diverse. Like if you think about just in my grade, the senior class just has one black student in it. So yeah, Pineview is not a diverse school, and I think that that's something that really needs to change, because I think that diversity should be celebrated, especially at this school where everything about our school is related to like higher levels of thinking and different types of education, and I feel like diversity should be part of that and celebrating different cultures and identities.
And I think we all agree that there are so many more ethnicities and diversities besides individuals who are Black or African American, you know, and that diversity includes all of us. And diversity isn't only about ethnicity or where we were born, but it also could be our religious upbringing. And so I would hope that that would be considered as well. Mia, what do you think?
I think that is very important for a school to be diverse, so everybody can understand different ways people view things, and it's not just in one point of view, because different people have different stories, different ways they see things, and we can improve by hearing each other. How we see the world.
I agree with Mia, because I have a friend who's Muslim, and we are like in a advanced program at our school, and it's people like look up to us because we're like the more advanced and gifted class. And so one day, like, this kid came up to her and said, "You're Muslim, you should go back where you came from. You're a terrorist, you shouldn't be here."
How did that make you feel?
Yeah, I felt really upset. I feel like I should have like said something about it instead of just walk away.
Do we sometimes see people that are treated differently, whether it's because of their race or their ethnicity, and we don't say something when maybe we should? Yes?
I feel like a lot of that's because people are scared to be different from the norm. Like, some people who see bullying automatically jump in, where there are others that see it and think, "Oh, he's not talking to me, why should I be involved?" That's the problem. There are too many bystanders and not enough people to step in and end it. Can and I, while we are Booker High seniors, we were Booker middle school students who went around the district, and we encouraged to end bullying. We actually made skits and songs for elementary schoolers around the area to realize, like, hey, it's cool to, not watch somebody get picked on. It's cool to step in and say, that's not what you're doing. That's not what you're here to do. And I think that's something that's honestly stuck with me till my 12th grade year and to beyond, that I will not watch somebody get picked on and not say something.
And to piggyback off of what Eddie said, back then, we it kind of got stuck into our brain and implanted in us that people are really afraid to step up and say something in a hard time or bad situation. We always have that feeling of fight or flight. So in that situation, you're either, should I not say something and should I continue, or should I step in and dissolve the problem? Most of the time, people decide to take the flight route, and in the flight route, their mind says, "Oh, this isn't me. This isn't my problem. I don't really care." But it takes a small thing to stop a big problem. So in that instance, you could commonly say, "Oh, that's not okay. Don't do that," or you could just help out the person that has been talked about. it doesn't take much, and people think that it takes a lot to help stop something. Really, it only takes a few words or a nice kind gesture, and it'll really help someone's day in that situation.
In addition to what everyone else said, I think that there's a lot of bullying and discriminatory acts that happen every day, and even though people that say they're accepting and say that they like other cultures, they don't realize that they're doing it. For example, there's a large amount of internet jokes and pictures that go around that, you know, are funny. People think that they're funny, but in reality, they're actually very racist and bigoted. And even though people play it off as, oh, it's just a joke, you know, it doesn't really matter that much. But in reality, that's the exact discourse that contributes to overall racism in society as a whole. So I think that stopping discourse and having a no tolerance policy for any type of discrimination, whether or not you find it funny, I think that that needs to be stopped in order to actually see overall the ending of societal racism and discrimination.
Leah?
At our school, we have a no bullying policy, and don't think of it as you being like a snitch if you tell the guidance counselor, principal, whoever it may be, that someone's getting picked on. Think of it as you're in someone else's shoes. You're getting picked on. Would you like anyone else to step in and try to help you out?
Charles?
I have a question. How many of you read a newspaper daily or at least once a week, or see a TV news program daily or at least once a week? Okay, that's a little over half. So my question to you all is, what do you think of the politicians that you see and what's going on in the news? Yes.
I think that we were talking about, you know, bullying and being a bystander and stepping in when something is happening. I think that there's a lot of bystanders within our politicians. I think when we see leaders going after each other, no one is stepping in and trying to help each other out. They're just being bystanders and letting it happen and not speaking up for what they believe in.
And to go off what Ms. Stein said, I honestly believe that a lot of our government officials aren't speaking up because they're afraid that if they don't, that they might get fired or they're going to be the next target. When all honesty is, if everybody says something specifically to whatever the issue is, it can be stopped. If people were to stand up and everybody speak against some of the things that our president said, possibly he might stop. He might get off of Twitter. He might not use all 140 characters. Who knows? But nobody's saying anything, so we won't find out.
I think going off that, in agreement, I think that the fact that we have politicians that are scared to either vote for certain policies in Congress or are scared to speak up or act against the executive branch, I think that that's fundamentally flawed because that's not how governments are supposed to work. Like, if people don't like the executive branch and what they're doing, they shouldn't be scared about either having their campaign sabotaged or about being not supported by the executive branch anymore. The fact that they have that fear in the first place, that is very bad, that one branch has that much power over the others and that they're actually using like fear mongering to control other politicians into supporting their own policies and not acting against them.
What do you think about the fact that they got elected because somebody thought like they think? And that it might not just be how that government official thinks, but that might just be a piece of our nation in terms of how we feel about things, how we deal with racism, how we deal with prejudice. Someone voted for him.
I think that kind of goes back to typical high school. Like, people get elected based off not necessarily popularity, but what I tell you. Like, I might tell you, like, oh, if you vote for me, I'll give you a Snicker next week. Like, so you're gonna vote for me based off that Snicker. And I feel like if everybody wants a Snicker, we're all gonna vote for you. It's just the problem is once you don't get that Snicker, you don't get what was promised, you know, you're just kind of stuck with it until the next election.
I think, using the analogy that was just used, a lot of the people that voted for our president haven't gotten their Snicker yet, and there's still a lot of support, even though they said, oh, we're voting for him because he's going to build a border wall, because he's going to ban Muslims from entering the country. Even though he hasn't done any of those, and he's failed on almost every single campaign promise so far, only a few months into his first term, I think and the fact that there's still support, I think that shows there's a lot of like psychological aspects that goes into the support for him as a president, because I think that a lot of the electorate was scared and feeling like they needed some sort of security, and Trump offered just that. So they kind of succumbed to him regardless of whether or not he was racist. Even if they thought that racism was bad, they still saw that they represented for most of his voters, like blue collar white workers in the United States. They felt like he represented them, and even though there were some drawbacks, I mean, hopefully they saw drawbacks in him, but they still supported him anyway because they had that psychological clinging to him.
I also feel like people voted for someone that they felt like they knew, and because they had seen Trump for so long and on TV, and since you know whenever, like in the 90s even, I feel like people voted for him because he was more comfortable than other candidates, and because they felt like they knew him personally. He was more of someone that they felt like they could have a conversation with and was going to change things for them.
I also feel that, to piggyback off of what my fellow high schoolers said, people, they were promised a lot of things, and when you hear something that you feel like you really have a chance at getting, you start to fall for it. You start to find that this person has everything that you want and that you need to put into quotes. But really, when you start to see that after it happens, the after effect is that none of these things were really there in the first place. You're just telling yourself that, yeah, this is what I like, this is what I need, oh, I can't wait to have it. But then once it falls back and nothing ever comes to you, you feel betrayed and you feel hurt. And like that's the thing with like our politicians nowadays. They'll promise you things and you'll hear a lot of things, but when you don't really receive them, you feel hurt and betrayed by your own self because you let yourself fall for it.
Social media, it seems, has made it easier for us to be meaner, to say things on our cell phones or in a 140-character message that we might not say to each other face to face. Christina, do you think that Twitter and Facebook and some of the other social media tools have made it easier for folks to hate?
Well, I do think it has made people more like vulnerable to like to hate on people online, because instead of saying it to their face, they can just type it and send it, and they don't think that it's as powerful. But if someone reads it, it can just hurt just as much. But the person that's typing it, it doesn't come across as like actually saying it in person. They don't think it has the same effect.
Anyone else have any thoughts?
Well, doing that can also be an effect of cyberbullying. Once you type it, it's out there and it's going to stay out there, but you don't really think of a person's feelings getting hurt because you can't see them behind the screen. They may be crying or mad inside, not knowing what they're going to do next.
I also like to add that something I see a lot is on social media is someone may have an opinion and other people might just say that opinion even though they don't believe it just because everybody's saying that, or it's something popular that is being typed and they just say it, but they don't understand that someone else is receiving these messages and seeing these people saying these rude things. And I think that it's almost like they, without knowing, like they might thinking it's a joke, they're cyberbullying.
When you get a post or a tweet or an Instagram message that says something that you don't agree with, do you respond? Do you delete it? Do you unfriend them? What do we do to let folks know that we might not agree with what they said? Anyone?
Unfortunately for me, I'm petty, so I'm the type of person who will unfriend you immediately. Like, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to reply to whatever you said and let you know in my reply, like, I'm unfriending you. And that's the end of it. As far as if you're saying something to a group of people or saying something like it's hurtful as a racist joke, I mean, you just have to call them out. You have to let them know, like, hey, it's not funny. Because if somebody turned around and flipped it and said something about you, I know you'd be hurt as well.
As I sit here listening and thinking, what's on your mind that neither Mayor Eddie nor I have asked you that you want to say? I got the big audience now. I need to get this out.
I think personally,
And that's for any and all. Go ahead.
I think personally, a lot of misconception comes from, well, back to the earlier question about minorities in the ACE program. I think Booker has possibly the most diverse ACE program out there. I'm a transfer from Palmetto High School for 3 of my 4 years of high school, and honestly, coming into Booker High's ACE program, I felt more welcome. I felt more life into it. There is really no minority. There's every race that you can think of, every religion is in there. I have my first period alone. I have, Caucasian theater kids. I have African American athletes. I have my best friend in my first period is a Muslim. She's a Muslim, and she's helped me every step of the way in maintaining this nice and pretty GPA that I'm working towards right now. So I just think that a lot of people, just look at Booker High School as well as like they just do dance, they have, decent sports teams, whatever. I think we're the best overall, school out there, personally. Our principal's amazing, our faculty's amazing, our coaches and our community around us is amazing. Honestly, I've sold more discount cards and got more questions asked about how last week's game was since I've been at Booker than ever. So I just think I just want to shout out my school and invite everybody in the community to come out and catch a game. We play Southeast this Friday, and I just think more people should come out to Booker High School and see what we have to offer.
I have a question for you. Discount cards. Now, what are discount cards?
Our discount cards, since I've been involved in selling them, were primarily to businesses in the community such as McDonald's, Quiznos, just the popular places that everybody can go to. There's no leaning towards a certain part of town. Anywhere in Sarasota, our discount cards are available. They're $20. For $20, you can get, I believe it's 6 free items, and you can reuse it as much as you want to. Not the free items, but you can reuse the card to get 50% off or 50% off your oil change, which I need one. You can get free items at McDonald's, which every athlete and every young person and old person may love. I mean, nobody can tell me they don't love free. Nobody can tell me they don't like half off. Mm-hmm. And I think the support that our community's given us in making those gains to sell those cards was well appreciated.
Okay. You like you had something you were getting ready to say.
Oh, no.
Okay, well, that's okay. Now, Eddie seems to be an ambassador for his school, and Mr. Pinckney is following pretty close. So, Ms. Stein and Mr. Kircher, tell us the great things about your school.
Yeah, I love Pineview so much. I've been there since I was in 3rd grade. I think it's probably one of the best things that has ever happened to me. Going to somewhere in elementary, middle, and high school, you make lifelong friends, and the teachers there are amazing, and I've learned so much about myself and about the world, and I just love learning there, and I love being a part of it, and I'm going to be really sad when I have to leave.
So going into high school, I was actually considering going to Pineview instead of Sarasota High, and I was extremely close to going to Pineview instead because I felt like there were a lot of I think that I had a lot of preconceived notions of what Sarasota High was like without actually going there in the first place, and I just kind of like heard things like word of mouth about what Sarasota High was like. And my sister went there. She's 2 years older than me, and I just kind of got a bad image of it. But as soon as I went there freshman year, I realized that I had made the right decision, and it's actually a really robust intellectual learning community that there's a lot of different cultures and diversity and things like that. And we also have a lot of really great extracurriculars. On top of all that, we have a very strong school spirit. So even individuals that aren't involved in things like football or team sports or anything, they're still brought into the fold, and everyone has this central ideology of supporting the Sarasota High Sailors. And there's a lot of school enthusiasm that goes into every Friday before football games and before other types of games as well.
A lot has been said in the adult community and about the border and immigrants and things like we don't need any more, send them back. What do you all say to that? Do you hear that at school or in the communities that you live in?
I do. I remember when Donald Trump got elected, basically a few days after it, people started saying, oh, you're getting deported. Are you here illegally? You don't belong here. And I never really heard any of that. Like, I've never had anyone come up to me at school and say that. No one questioned if I should be here or not until our president started saying things like, oh, we should build a wall. We don't want any more Mexicans. Stuff that, like, different groups will interpret differently. Like what happened at Charlottesville 2 months ago, where a college campus, the neo-Nazis, the KKK went up there and did that. And our president took 2 days to respond to it. And some people say it was half-hearted. It didn't. It's almost like he was forced to do it. And I believe that the silence that he took for those 2 days, it's almost like saying what they did was okay. Because it's almost like, oh, like a thumbs up from the president. Because it took him quite a while to address the issue.
What did you say when people started to questioning you about, are you legal? Do you belong here? Did you react to them? Did you have a discussion with them, or did you just ignore them?
I did respond. I said, no, I'm not illegal here, and I belong here. I came here because I'm from Cuba, and their freedom of speech or stuff like that isn't really supported there. It's so we say this, and you have to go through this. And when my parents came here, they wanted me to be able to speak freely, to think freely. And when people started saying that, I was like, no, I belong here. I should be here. And they responded by just walking away or like shrugging me off.
Speaking of freedom of speech, we have all heard the issues related to how we should react when the Pledge of Allegiance is recited, whether or not we should stand, or whether or not you should take a knee, or whether or not we should do anything. Do you think that having the right to have free speech, should we all support that? Do we all support it the same? Do I have a right to express my views differently than you, and can we make it work?
I think one of the largest misconceptions about the whole flag and taking a knee issue that's going on right now is that people that say, oh, you should respect the flag because, you know, it's your country and you should respect that, they're also a lot of times people that break the flag code by having flags that, having like the flag printed on like beach towels and like wearing flags on their clothes and things like that. So it's actually really hypocritical. The second thing is that the flag literally stands for the freedom of speech and ideology. So that encompasses things like taking a knee for the flag and dissent. Patriotic is, it is patriotic to be dissentful to the government because it shows that you care about the government and improving it for you and the people around you. So when people say that it's anti-patriotic to take a knee, I would say that it actually is patriotic to take a knee because it shows that you care about the country and you care about, and you're utilizing the freedom of expression the flag actually protects.
At Booker High School, we give the option before every sporting event to either stand for the pledge. Actually, we invite you to stand for the pledge. If you don't mind reading our opening statement before every game. The student body of Booker High School recognizes that our great country, the United States of America, is not perfect. We also recognize that our national anthem honors our veterans and current soldiers who fought for and continue to fight for our freedom. With this in mind, we respectively invite everybody to stand with us for our national anthem. That's something that we've been saying since the tweets went out from President Trump. If you would like to take a knee, that's your choice. Our First Amendment is freedom of speech. If you choose to take a knee, that's demonstrating your First Amendment. I mean, that's showing that you care about your country enough that if I say, like, I want to take a knee, I'm going to take a knee. If I want to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, I'm going to stand. That's your choice. But as long as you're not, being rude and yelling profane statements during the pledge, there's no issue. There's no harm done.
And I think the common misconception is that people see that how it's going on in like the NFL right now. People see that since they're on a higher stage and they're constantly watched, because NFL is one of those sports where it's one of the main sports of America. Everybody watches the NFL. There are billions of people that watch it every Sunday, every Monday, depending on what's your preference. But people think they see that as they have a voice. They have a louder voice than most other people, and they see that since it's up in the higher levels, that it's going to start causing a wave, an outbreak into our schools, being middle schoolers and high schoolers, that we see a lot of stuff on social media, and we see like a lot of things that drizzle out from higher up. So when it comes down to the high school level and we start making statements and we have to bring it into the room, it's a not so talked about thing. They try to not so much as hide it, but they try to veer away from it, because they know that we as high schoolers and we as middle schoolers have voices, and we like to voice our opinions. Willingly or unwillingly, we're going to say what's on our mind. It is what it is. That's the thing about being a teenager. We have opinions, we love to voice them. So when it comes down to our level and we decide that we want to be like the grown-ups, we want to be on that main stage and we want to voice our opinions, it has to get silenced down to a certain level, which in my opinion I feel shouldn't be a thing. Because if someone can voice their opinion on a higher level, me being the same person that they are, only thing different is they have a salary for the game that they play, and we play the same game for free just because we love to play it. We have that ambition. We should be able to voice our opinions how we feel, and without any type of rule or regulation or certain step down.
The result of those NFL players who decided to have free speech, whether it be in taking a knee or in not participating, was that they were called names. What message do you think that sends to our community and to our world, Christina or Brittany? If I exercise my rights and you call me a name, what does that do to me?
Well, it makes you feel like you don't have the right to express how you feel. It makes you feel like you should be feeling a certain way, or you should be doing something that just seems like what everyone else wants you to do, and not what you act. I think people should be able to do what they feel is right. If it's for the flag, if it's taking a knee, or if it's standing, I think they should be able to do what they feel is right for that, as long as it doesn't affect other people.
Yeah, I think anyone should be able to say things freely, their opinions freely, without getting judged, because it's like it's the First Amendment. You can say anything you would like to, as long as you're just not saying rude things about others and making them feel like they don't belong.
Sometimes the NFL players and our coaches who stood up for the players, they were ridiculed. So they were discriminated against for protecting the rights of their fellow football players and their coaches. What do you think that says in our society?
I think there's definitely like a racial, this all started with Colin Kaepernick taking a knee during the national anthem before a football game. And I remember one thing that I read on the internet was that literally Trump, his entire campaign, spent very blatantly saying that America is not great. It's not like we need to make America great again, because there's a lot of issues that, are really bad with America, and that America isn't a good country, but I'm here to fix it. Then as soon as an African-American male that plays football just says that, like, America isn't great because we have issues like police brutality, as soon as, like, a minority says that, everyone suddenly turns against them because they're like, no, America is great. What are you talking about? But then when white people say it, it's, like, absolutely fine. So I think there's definitely, like, a racial divide there that, we don't like to hear about issues if it's coming from someone that's like other than the idealized white male. But as soon as like Trump says it, then it's absolutely fine.
Where do we go from here?
I think if we just respect the opinions of everyone and actually don't shut ourselves out from different discourses that are different from us. I think even the left has problems with doing that. They say that, even like all Republicans are Nazis. It's obviously not true. Not all Republicans are Nazis. I think that if we just open ourselves up to actually, instead of name calling and just shutting out conversation, we need to actually bring discourse that actually makes changes to our country, not just saying that my opinion's right 100% of the time. We actually need to look with a holistic perspective as to what can be done and look at the struggles of everyone, not just the struggles of the average American.
There are those who say that an educated population is necessary for the prosperity of this country. Do you believe that? And if so, why? Also, as an addendum to that, is taking a knee, is that not important for the prosperity of this country too, the First Amendment?
It definitely is important for people to be educated, because if you don't know, then you can't do anything about it. You know, you need to know about what else is going on so that you can, you know, decide whether you are taking a stance on it or not. And I think that if you are an NFL football player, you have a lot of people, you know, watching you and looking up to you all the time, and you have the right and also the obligation to use that platform to stand up for what you believe in. And I think that taking a knee is extremely patriotic and brave, because they knew that they were going to get a lot of backlash from that, and they were standing up for what they believed in and educating people on that issue.
I think that a lot of people will tell you, and a lot of people that are going into the NFL will tell you that NFL is mostly entertainment. They see it as entertainment. You go in, you sacrifice your everyday life and your body and basically all of your time to go out and play a game that in some instances can be very dangerous, and you are putting yourself at risk for everybody's enjoyment. So seeing that they can't have their own voice in a situation where they're putting everything on the line for everyone's time and enjoyment, that's not okay. And I think that everyone's strayed away from the fact that that's what football is, and that's what people should see it as. Not saying that people shouldn't play football for that reason, but saying that, like what you said, it's brave. It's a very brave thing of you to do. You're sacrificing not only sometimes people's income, their only source of money. Sometimes it provides for other people and other things. But the fact that you want to take that away from someone for voicing an opinion that they surely have in a country where everyone's supposed to be different and we're supposed to have our own voice, that's contradictory in a greater sense, because you can't say that we have the ability to say anything and everything we want to without any type of backlash, and then backlashing against someone. That doesn't make sense to me.
How do you think the rest of the world sees the United States as we're dealing with these issues? Essentially, there are those that say we tear each other down. There are those that say that we allow the things that make us great to divide us. There are those that would say that the person who is our president, our leader, is not representing all of us. Do you think we're taken seriously?
I think right now, today, if we did a poll, we'd be viewed as a soap opera, or not even that, a reality show. We're no better than the Kardashians at this point, and that's with all seriousness. Our main articles now, or the main thing covered, is a guy who's tweeting. A social media app that I have for free is our biggest topic. A guy that sits behind his desk, which is arguably supposed to be the most important desk in the country, and uses 140 characters to honestly break us down. He hasn't tweeted anything positive since being in office, as well as before he was in office. If you look at his tweets, Trump's always been controversial, period. He hasn't had successful businesses, yet he thought it was smart to run for the most powerful position in our country. The thing that could build us or, break us down, he chose. Let me take myself, who's not all the way together, and let me lead a bunch of other people who, at the time, we were slowly but surely making accomplishments. I feel our past president, Barack Obama, did some justice in his 2 terms. I feel like we accomplished a lot. A lot of people started to like each other. People were actually starting to like each other and build each other up. in that
Okay,
time
Mr.
being.
Hundley. We have 2 minutes left for comments, and Mir has been smiling and looking and moving her microphone. So, Mir, what do you want to say?
I would say that I agree because I think the world almost sees it like a setback. Like it's almost like we gone really far as the first black president, and then now we have like racial discrimination acts happening. Our president saying build a wall, do this, all Muslims are terrorists, and it's almost like we're not improving. And I think that America is always been as like from 13 colonies expanding to 50 states, and now it's kind of like we aren't really hearing each other, like what we're saying, we're just yelling things, and I think we need to hear each other.
Okay, anyone else for the 30 seconds? Well, if not, I'd like to thank, on behalf of ABC7 and Black Almanac, I'd like to thank you all for participating in this discussion, and I hope our viewers found it important to them. And I'll let our mayor close.
Thank you for taking time to share with us how you feel and where you stand. We do a horrible job of telling you how you think, and we want to try to stop doing that and acknowledge that at your schools, you guys are doing it right. You guys are having the conversations, you are supporting one another, you are embracing each other's differences and celebrating each other's cultures and pushing each other to be the best that you can be. And as a local community and as a nation, we need to look to you, and thank you to your schools and your staffs and your principals that seem to get it. We also know that you don't live at that school. You have to leave that school and go into a community, and we have an obligation to make sure that you are not treated differently because of your race, and not discriminated against because you're different, and not assumed to be dangerous because you might be of a particular ethnicity or a religion, or because you may have hair that's a different color, or your skin may be a different color, or you may speak differently. We have an obligation to embrace you and to treat you fairly, and we need to make sure that as a community we do that. As a nation, know that the world is watching. And
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
Thank you so much, and that's going to have to be the final word.
All right.
My name's Greg Simone, president and founder of Care to Try. I'm excited to announce that this year we're hosting our inaugural 5K and 1 mile race. In addition, we are attempting to set a Guinness Book of World Records for the most amount of wheelchairs in a race. This is a call to action and we need your help. We'd like to set an environment where everybody's accepted. So please come out and join us in Wheel Unified. The event will be hosted on November 4th, 2017 at Lakewood Ranch CrossFit. Please go to our website, caretotry.org, where there are details for race sign-up.
Glasses and contacts. You need them to see, but they put such a strain on your life. Due to new advances in vision improvement technology, LASIK is now affordable for almost everyone, with procedures starting as low as $299 per eye. And over 1 million procedures performed by our trusted independent surgeons. LASIK surgery is a sensible, safe, and affordable solution to improve your vision. So call now to talk to a LASIK Vision Institute counselor and schedule your free evaluation.
1-800-813-0109. Are you a food lover, restaurant goer, or home cook? Then check out My Suncoast Dining on mysuncoast.com, your guide to the foodie lifestyle. ABC 7's own Chef Judy serves up her favorite recipes, cooking tips and trends, dining blogs, and helpful step-by-step videos. And you'll love the restaurant guide with direct links to your favorite Suncoast eateries. Whether you're cooking in or dining out, whet your appetite with tasty tips from Chef Judy at mysuncoast.com/dining.